Chapter 1 Loomings. Call me Ishmael. Some years ago, never mind how long precisely, having little or no money in my purse and nothing particular to interest me on shore, I thought I would sail about a little and see the water part of the world. It is a way I have of driving off the spleen and regulating circulation. Whenever I find myself growing grim about the mouth, whenever it is a damp and drizzly November in my soul, whenever I find myself involuntarily pausing before the coffin warehouses and bringing up the rear of every funeral I meet, and especially whenever my hypos get such an upper hand of me that it requires a strong moral principle to prevent me from deliberately stepping into the street and methodically knocking people's hats off, then I count it high time to put to sea as soon as I can. This is my substitute for pistol and ball. With a philosophical flourish, Kato throws himself upon his sword. I quietly take to the ship. There is nothing surprising in this, but if they knew it, almost all men in their degree, sometime or other, cherish nearly the same feelings towards the ocean with me. There is now your insular city of meadows, belted around by wharves, its Indian isles by coral reefs. Commerce surrounds itself with her surf. Right and left, the streets take you waterward. It is extreme downtown as the Battery, where that noble mole is washed by waves, cooled by breezes, which a few hours previous were out of sight of land. Look at the crowds of water gazers there. Circumambulate the city of a dreamy Sabbath afternoon, go from Cloyer's Hook to Cognity's Slip, from thence Whitehall northward. What do you see? Posted like silent sentinels around the city, thousands upon thousands of mortal men fixed in ocean reveries. Some leaning against the spiles, some seated upon the pierheads, some looking over the bulwarks of ships from China. Some aloft in the rigging, as if striving to get a better seaward peep. But these are all landsmen, of weekdays pent up in lath and plaster, tied to counters, nailed to benches, clenched to desk. How is this? Are the green fields gone? What do they hear? But look, here come more crowds, pacing straight for the water, and seemingly bound for a dive. Strange. Nothing will content them but the extremest limits of land. Loitering under the shady lee of yonder warehouses will not suffice. No. They must get just as nigh as the water as they possibly can, without falling in. And there they stand, miles of them, leagues, inlanders and all. They come from lanes and alleys, streets and avenues, north, east, south, and west. Yet here they all unite. Tell me, does the magnetic virtue of the needles and of the compassings of all those ships attract them thither? Once more, say you are in the country, in some land of high lakes. Take almost any path you please, and 10 to 1 it carries you down into a dale, leaves you there by a pool and the stream. There's a magic in it. Yet most the absent-minded man be plunged in his deepest reveries. Stand that man on his legs, set his feet going, and he will infallibly lead you to water. If water there be in all that region, should you ever be athirst in the great American desert, try this experiment. If your caravan happen to be supplied with a metaphysical professor, yes, as everyone knows, meditation and water are wedded forever. But here is an artist. He desires to paint you in the dreamiest, shadiest, quietest, most enchanting bit of romantic landscape in all the Valley of Sekko. What is the chief element he employs? There stand his trees, each with a hollow trunk, as if a hermit and a crucifix were within. And here sleeps his meadow, there sleep his cattle, and up from yonder cottage goes a sleepy smoke. Deep into the distant woodlands winds a mazy way, reaching to overlapping spurs of mountains bathed in their hillside blue. But though the picture lies thus tranced, And though this pine tree shakes down and it sighs like leaves upon this shepherd's head, yet we're all in vain, unless the shepherd's eye were fixed upon the magic stream before him. Go visit the prairies in June. For scores on scores of miles you wade knee-deep among tiger lilies. What is the one charm waiting? Water. There is not a drop of water there. Were Nigeria but a cataract of sand, would you travel thousands of miles to see it? Why did the poor poet of Tennessee, upon suddenly receiving 2 handfuls of silver, deliberate whether to buy him a coat, which he sadly needed, or to invest his money in a pedestrian trip to Rockaway Beach? Why is almost every robust, healthy boy with a robust, healthy soul in him at some time or other crazy to go to sea? Why, upon your first voyage as a passenger, did you feel yourself with such a mystical vibration? When first told that you and your ship were now out of sight of land, why did the old Persians see holy? Why did the Greeks give it a separate deity, and own brother of Jove? Surely all of this is without meaning. And still deeper meaning of that of the story of Narcissus, who, because he could not grasp the tormenting mild image he saw in the fountain, plunged into it and was drowned. But that same image we ourselves see in the rivers and oceans. It is the image ungraspable by the fountain of life, and this is the key to all of it. Oops. Let's take it back to chapter 1. Now, when I say that I am in the habit of going to sea whenever I begin to grow hazy in the eyes, or begin to be conscious over my loneliness, I do not mean to have it interfered that I ever go to sea as a passenger. For to go as a passenger, you must needs have a purse, and a purse is but a rag you use to put something in it, unless you have something in it. Besides, passengers get seasick and grow quarrelsome, don't sleep of nights, do not enjoy themselves as much, as a general thing. No, I never go as a passenger, nor, though I am something of a salt, do I ever go to sea as a camaraderie, or captain, or cook. I abandon the glory of distinction of such offices to those who like them. For my part, I abominate all honorable, respectable toils, trials, and tribulations of every kind whatsoever. It is as much as I can to take care of myself without taking care of ships, barks, bridges, and schooners, and whatnot. And as for going as a cook, though I confess there's a considerable glory in that, as being a cook being a sort of officer on shipboard, yet somehow I never fancied broiling fowls. Though once I broiled, justicely buttered, and judgmentally salted and peppered, there is no one who will speak more respectfully, not to say reverently, of a boiled fowl than I will. It is out of the idlest dotings of the old Egyptians upon broiled ibis and roasted river horse, that you see mummies of those creatures in their baked houses' pyramids. Now, when I go to sea, I go as a simple sailor. Right before the mast, plumb down into the forecastle, aloft to the royal masthead. True, they'd rather order me about some, and make me jump from spar to spar, like a grasshopper in the May meadow. At first, this sort of thing is unpleasant enough. It touches one's sense of honor, particularly if you've come from lording it as a country schoolmaster, making the tallest boys stand in awe of you. The transition is a keen one, I assure you, from schoolmaster to sailor, and requires a strong decoction of Seneca and the Stoics to enable you to grin and bear it. But even this wears off in time. What of it if some old hunks of a sea captain orders me to get a broom and sweep down the decks? What does the indignity amount to? Weighed, I mean, in the scales of the New Testament? Do you think the Archangel Gabriel thinks any the less of me because I promptly and respectfully obeyed that old hunks in that particular instance, who ain't a slave. Tell me that. Well then, however the old sea captains may order me about, however they may thump and punch me about, I have the satisfaction of knowing that it is alright, that everyone else, one way or another, are served in much the same way, either in physical or metaphysical point of view, that is. And so the universal thump is passed around, and all hands should rub each other's shoulder blades to be content. Again, I go to sea as a sailor because they make a point of paying me for my trouble, whereas they never pay passengers even a single penny that I've heard of. On the contrary, passengers themselves must pay. And there is a difference in the world between paying and being paid. The act of paying is the most uncomfortable infliction of the two orchard thieves entailed upon us, but being paid, what will compare with it? The urban activity with which a man receives money is really marvelous, considering that we so earnestly believe that money is the root of all earthly ills, and that no account can a money man enter heaven. Ah, how tearfully we must consign ourselves to perdition. Finally, I always go to sea as a sailor, because of the wholesome exercise and the pure air of the forecastle deck. For, as in this world, the headwinds are far more prevalent than the winds from astern, that is, if you never violate the Pythagorean maxim. So, for the part of the camaraderie of the quarter-deck gets his atmosphere the second hand from the sailor's forecastle, I think he breathes it first. But not so. In much the same way that the commonality leads their leaders in many things. At the same time that the leaders little suspect it. But wherefore it was, having repeatedly smoked the sea as a merchant sailor, I should now take it to my head to go on a whaling voyage. This is the invisible police officer of the fates, who has constant surveillance of me and secretly dogs me and influences me in some unacceptable way. He can better answer than anyone else, and, doubtless, my going on this whaling voyage formed the part of the grand program of provinces that was drawn up some long time ago. It came in a sort of brief interlude and solos between more extensive performances. I take it that this part of the bill must have run something like this. Grand contested election for presidency of the United States. Whaling voyage by one Ishmael. Bloody battle in Afghanistan. Though I cannot tell why it is exactly that those stage managers, the fates, put me down for this shabby part of a whaling voyage, when others were set down for magnificent parts in high tragedies, and short and easy parts in genteel comedies, and jolly parts in farces, though I cannot tell why this is exactly. Yet now, I recall all the circumstances, and I think I can see into the little springs and motives which cunningly prevented me, under various disguises, induced me to set about performing the part that I did, besides cajoling me into a delusion that it was a choice resulting from my own biased free will and undiscriminating judgment. Chief among these motives was the overwhelming idea of the great whale itself. Such a pretentious and mysterious monster roused all my curiosity. Then, the wild and distant seas where he rolled his island bulk, the undesirable, nameless perils of this whale, these, with all the attending marvels of 1,000 Pentagon sights, helped sway me to my wish. With other men, perhaps, such things would not have been inducement. But as for me, I am tormented with an everlasting itch for things remote. I love to sail forbidden seas and land on barbarous coasts. Not ignoring what is good, I am quick to perceive a horror, could still be social with it. Would they let me? Since it is but well to be friendly, on terms with all the inmates of the place one lodges in. By reason of these things, then, whaling on voyage has welcomed. The great floodgates of Wonderworld swung open, and in the wild conceits that swayed me to my purpose, two and two there floated into my inmost soul, endless processions of the whale, and made most of them all, one grand hooded phantom, like a snow hill in the air,